Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. And in our series of interviews with the West Midlands PA Awards 2020 winners, I am delighted to introduce that independent virtual assistant of the year, Rachel Hands. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, nice to see you.
How are you?
I'm good. Looking forward to Easter and chocolate. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. How have you been recently? Have you been really busy? What's kind of happened for you at the start of this year?
So yeah, start of this year. Hang on, where are we now? End of
So
April.
we're in
April Fool's Day. That
April.
says it all.
Oh, it is actually, isn't it? I never thought of that.
That's why we're doing this today. But yeah, no, I've had a really busy start to the first quarter, which has been good from a business perspective. Obviously, we're still trying to go through the ebbs and flows of the whole pandemic thing, but it is what it is, and we just have to get on with it and deal with it now. So, but no, it's been a really good start to the year. Thank you.
How many years have you been a virtual assistant?
So I started my business in 2013. So what's that? 7, 8 years?
Wow.
Yeah, coming up for 8 years now. So
Fantastic.
I started it when I was on maternity leave with my first child, because I always wanted to go back to my proper job in customer service management. And we went to look at nurseries and things, and they said, oh, if your son takes his first steps, we'll write and tell you. And that just like hit me like a ton of bricks. So I was like, no, I want to see that. I don't want to miss that. So I started sort of researching what I could do working from home, and stumbled across virtual assistants. And I was like, oh, actually, that sounds pretty good and flexible and everything else. So yeah, the rest is history, really.
Fantastic. So I guess for you then, I mean, obviously with the pandemic and everything that's happened, nothing's really kind of, in terms of your working environment where you are and what you're doing, you've kind of continued really.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I can imagine there might, been some challenges with clients, perhaps going through turbulent times, etc. But I can imagine that change that everybody had to adapt to, you didn't really have to adapt to that much, really. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, it's just normal. I mean, the biggest change that I think has happened is historically, when I've been talking to potential clients, they were always like, well, you can't do that if you're not in the office. Whereas now that whole objection has gone, because they know everyone's been doing it for the last 12 months. So you can. So that's all gone. And I think I'm really lucky in the balance of clients that I support. They don't all fall into one category. So they're not all coaches. They're not all manufacturers. I've got a good base and a good balance. And where some might have initially dropped off a little bit, some of the larger organizations that I work with, for example, it was more cost effective for them in lockdown number 1, the real lockdown, to furlough their staff and pay me for 30 minutes a day to check the emails.
Yeah.
So what I lost in one aspect, I picked up in other areas. So
yeah, I think it's just good for people that are watching this. Perhaps we've had queries before with the awards as to why we call the category the independent virtual assistant category, and I think it's really the reason we call it that is to make sure, because when you've got a virtual assistant who is employed and in a full-time role and working from home, it's very, very different to being the managing director of your own business, but also supporting so many other people and being that kind of strategic business partner for those different people. You could be juggling 4 or 5 or 6 different businesses in different sectors all at the same time. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah. So I have, at the last count, it was 11 different clients that I work with. So I support the majority of them, but then I've also got team members that either step in and do stuff or support a couple of clients directly. So and sort of like within some of those businesses, you're not just supporting one person, there's multiple people in there as well. So yeah, it's a juggle sometimes, but it's great, and you learn so much.
Yeah, I think when I was made redundant in September and I set up my consultancy, I'm now working with 5 different clients. So I can understand how you're suddenly jumping from one to another. You could have like 15 minutes in between the time that you're doing for them and just jump straight into another one. Your mindset's got to change straight away and think, right, I need to get into this straight away with this client. This is the time I've got with them now, and this is what I'm going to be doing for them today. So the organization, the planning and everything that you have to, and while you're doing all of that, you're also trying to find new clients, aren't you?
Yeah, so it's really I mean, a lot of PAs, well, most PAs anyway, would have a really good schedule of their workday, but when you're trying to factor in growing your own business, supporting your team members, different clients, and what they've got coming up, and catch up calls and everything, you really have to have quite a rigid structure. But then there's always times when I'll get a call that something will be urgent, or they don't know how to do something, and so you have to build in some flexibility as well. So
yeah, and it's interesting that you say about your team members as well. So do you have so for example, a customer could come to you and, you know, they want something from RHVA because they know you, they know the brand, they, you know, they understand the brand, but so you have got these other people that work with you that support your clients as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm good at what I do, but I know that I'm not fantastic at everything, and no one person can be fantastic at everything. And going back to sort of like 2019, it was the year that my youngest started school, so I got a bit more time, she says, which radically got filled. And I did a review with all my clients and things, and there was some things that they would love, they wanted me to do, but I wasn't an expert in that. So then I looked at expanding the team to bring in those additional services and additional things that clients wanted. So Summit was more from a marketing perspective. So now I've got somebody on my team that's got a marketing degree, and she looks after that side for that particular customer. Others wanted more like videos and things. And I mean, I could do it, but I'm not the most effective or efficient person at doing it. So it was like a natural progression, really. So that's how the team came about. Yeah.
And I think that's why also you see that VAs are such seasoned networkers, because you can't just kind of work with somebody that you know, you wouldn't type in, you could type into Google, you know, marketing director, you know, independent marketing directors, but really they're people that you know and you nurture those relationships with, and you know that's your name that you're putting towards that. So you want to make sure that they're doing an absolutely, you know, exceptional job for your clients, because what you don't want to do is affect that relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm quite so if I'm looking for another team member, because I'm part of sort of like some of the groups like the VA Forum and Amanda Johnson's VA group and things, you get to see how people conduct themselves, and that you get a feeling about somebody, and then I might contact them to see if they were interested. Then we'll have a, you know, Zoom call a bit like this, and then I send them a couple of test pieces of work just so you can see what it's like to actually work with that person, because like you say, at the end of the day, it's my reputation that's on the line.
Yeah.
If it's not to the standard that me or the client would expect. So
yeah, absolutely. So take us back then, because nominations opened for the awards in 2019 in October. So how did you hear about the awards initially?
I believe it was from you on LinkedIn, and probably a direct message, because you quite like those, don't you?
I do like a bit of a direct message. Yeah, I'm always one of those people that believe that a lot of people will, you know, look at their email inboxes, and I appreciate that, you know, we aren't one for spam, but I'm always a person that believes in if I'm sending something and you want to read it, great. If you don't, skim past it or delete it. Absolutely fine with me. I've always had that culture. But I'm also, as you've probably seen, Rachel, very persistent.
Really? Yeah, so to be honest, I think I'd seen a couple of your general posts on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh, I'm not good enough for that, and kept scrolling. And then it was the direct message that you sent, and I was like, do you know what? I've got nothing to lose.
Yeah. And so you did a self-nomination, didn't you?
Yes.
And
Yeah, I did.
how did you feel about when you opened up the application form and you started writing? How did, because one of the things, you know, we were talking about this earlier, writing your CV is challenging enough because you think about it and you think, you know, the recruiters always say, put in there what's your, you know, your greatest achievements, what did you achieve during work? And if you think about it, it is a little bit like writing a CV, isn't it? Thinking back at some of your achievements.
Yeah. So it was it's quite a large document. It was a really great exercise to do, regardless as to whether I'd have won or not. Taking that step back and looking at, okay, what did I achieve in the last 12 months? What feedback can I give you to support my application from clients? Which that in itself, when you know, we get testimonials quite often, which is great, but actually looking back at those and seeing them in a big slab together, I'm like, wow, that was a real feel good factor. And yeah, just reviewing what had gone on, and I'm thinking, wow, from, you know, the beginning of 2019 to where we are now, I've made some massive steps forwards, and I've achieved some great things. So
Yeah.
It was a positive experience.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think that's the thing. I think we go through the days, don't we, where we're doing our best and we're going along. But when do we actually give ourselves time to sit back and reflect? And I think that is a really good opportunity to reflect. We have changed it this year. So what we've done this year is you can either nominate, so any clients, for example, could nominate you, or you could still fill out a self-nomination. But at this particular stage, all we're asking for at this point is just 100 words minimum, 500 maximum, and then we will send out that lovely form at the next the next stage, Rachel, just so we can understand a little bit more about the people that are applying or being nominated this year. But yeah, absolutely agree with you. I think that's why it's a really important part of the process. And as our committee, everybody, all the applications are independently scored, so it's just really good that they can get as much of a feel for that person as they possibly can. So those testimonials, as you said, really helped as well. Absolutely.
I think especially with this category for independent VA of the year, I mean, I could have picked up the phone to a client and said, oh, would you mind nominating me? But they haven't got all the background information that goes into that. They don't know that I started investing working with a mentor, or that I completely overhauled the website, or that I learned this system and that system. They don't see all the stuff behind it. They see the results, but so it would be a bit difficult,
yeah,
for them to nominate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's why it's really important that we have the balance of both. We need to hear from the person, and also, you know, if anyone does nominate, then hear from them as well. But congratulations, because it's not an easy thing to put yourself forward. But I'm so glad that you feel that, you know, it was a great thing for you to do. I mean, can you just kind of tell everybody about the process kind of thereafter for you, and how you kind of felt throughout that process? How was it, you know, just to give people a bit of an insight as to how, you know, once you've done your application, you've been shortlisted, what kind of happens from there?
Okay, so from the shortlist, then I had a what I would class as a peer panel interview with 3 other VAs, which I was extremely nervous about. But we were given an idea of the questions and the topics that would be discussed. But you know, a couple of those are people that I look at and go, wow, I would love to be like you. So it was a bit of like rabbit in the headlight thing. Yeah, so that was great. And then I found out that I'd been shortlisted, which I couldn't believe. I was like, wow. Because there's some great VAs in the West Midlands. There really is. They're just amazing. So to get shortlisted was fantastic. And then it went on to the actual judges interview. And I'll be honest, I was absolutely petrified. Okay.
Oh, really?
So I had to pull together a presentation answering some questions and delivering that. And we'd been given sort of like, I think it was 10 minutes to do the presentation.
Yeah.
And then so I sat there and I'm thinking, oh, these poor people are going to sit through 2 days of PowerPoints from PAs and VAs. So again, it brings out the best side of you, because it's like, well, how can I make mine a little bit different so that they remember it? And I was really, really conscious about making sure I didn't exceed the time as well. So I probably spent more time than I would have liked planning and prepping and making it all look nice, and then running through it over and over. And at the time, when was it? So it must have been in the school summer holidays, or maybe homeschooling. And I'm like, oh, I really hope the kids stay out the way. And they did, but they were the day of. I think I'd had them as my audience, and I'm like, right, I'm going to present this to you. So we had a practice and stuff. And yeah, Chris and Lucy were amazing and just made me feel so relaxed and everything. So I did the presentation, and they asked me a couple of questions on some of the information that I presented and things. Yeah, but it was great. And I came off and I was extremely red, and I'd got an itchy neck from, you know, completely uncomfortable. But I came off the call and I was like, do you know what? Whether I win or I don't, I was just proud of myself for getting that far and for doing what I did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why we do the peer panel. We do that as on purpose, as part of the process, because some people can write very well. And some people are so nervous when it comes to meeting, because some people haven't been for an interview for years, you know, and so being put in that environment again can really challenge you. And some people might not be great at writing, but they might be able to articulate themselves really, really well. So the peer panels are really important to us, because we're so supporting the people that are going through the process, and it builds your confidence up to eventually going to meet the judges. Because I think when if the next stage was to meet the judges straight away, the nerves, and that's why we give people the questions and things in advance, just to give them that comfort blanket of trying to, you know, feel comfortable with what they're about to do. But by no means it's human nature to be nervous in any type of situation like that. I completely get it, but I think it's that sense of relief, as you said afterwards, that it just blushes over you and you think, oh, I'm so glad I've done that.
Yeah, I came off and I was like, I wouldn't have changed anything in the interview. So, and I thought, well, I've done the best I can, and they either like me or they don't. But I've applied for other awards with different places before, and what I really enjoyed about the PA Forum ones is that it's like an all-round judging. So you get to meet the person. There's the application form, and obviously they get to see how you conduct yourself as well. Whereas there's some awards that will just judge you on your application form, and some might just then judge you on how you appear on social media. Whereas this, whether you're good or not at marketing yourself, I guess is the right word, or articulating yourself in the application form, because of the way it was structured, they get that all-round view of the person, and they can ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, anyone could write anything on an application form, and it's like, well, is it true? Yeah. Whereas, you know, when you're talking to people, they can delve a little bit further into that, which I thought was good. I didn't think it was good at the time, but now I think it's
Oh, brilliant. No, absolutely. I think that's why, you know, we every year when we meet with the committee, we say it's a really important part of the process. We really want to keep it on it. I think it brings, normally we'd be face to face. So we did it 2 years ago at the Radisson in Birmingham, and everyone would be coming in for their 10-minute interviews, and they'd be in the coffee lounge talking to each other and meeting to each other and clapping each other as they come out of the room. And that, I missed that feeling this year. And yeah, I really want to try and replicate that for you all as well. So we are looking to kind of bring together all the finalists and all the winners from last year. So keep your eye out on that, because I'll keep you posted. But can you just give somebody an indication? So, for example, what sort of things would you know, if you were filling out an application form, and those, if you've got it into your mindset that I do a good job, and I know I do a good job, but what sorts of things would you advise people that they could either think about, look at, or, you know, things that they might just do every day, but they don't think that actually, you know, that's to be put on an application form, and really it should. What would you say?
Yeah, so I think it's things where you feel you go above and beyond, because there, like I said earlier, there's so many fantastic VAs, not just in the West Midlands, but around the country and around the globe. And it's taking a step back and looking at what makes you a little bit different. So maybe it's your turnaround times. Maybe it's the fact that you try and support new people on their journey and you inspire other people. Maybe that it's that you're at the end of the phone for a customer that's maybe not having a great time, and just for me, I think it's about always wanting what you're doing to always want to better yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, you could say it's personal development, but don't think of that as just, you know, because you went on 2 training courses, that makes you great. It's what you do with that and what you do off your own back. For me, it's about making a difference.
Yeah, and I think mentoring was something that you're really passionate about as well. You know, you think that really comes through, and particularly with the, you know, the community that you're building, and you're very, very active on social media. You can see how you help and support people within the community. I think that, you know, I wasn't in your judging meeting, but I can imagine all of those qualities, you know, came through with all the extra work that you do. So again, congratulations to you. How did you feel about the actual awards night, it being virtual?
Well, to be honest, Anne, for me, it was amazing. And I'm really pleased it was virtual. I got some of my VA buddies, my close VA friends, they bought tickets so they could see it. The kids were here either side. We'd got like the goodie bag and the sash, and Ella was wearing the sash, and they were all like clapping. Every time one came on, they were clapping, and it came to mine, and they just looked like we're all sat here holding hands and just, you know, watching, me thinking, no, it's not going to be me, but anyway. And when they said my name, the kids were like whooping. I mean, they're only, what are they, 6 and 8?
Yeah.
And it was great because they're the biggest reason that I do what I do, is to be there for them, and for them to be able to share that was amazing. And my friends that are, you know, down south over in East Anglia, they were all able to be a part of it as well. Whereas if I'd have been like in person, it would have probably just been me and hubby. And, you know, he's great, but he doesn't give it all that whoop whoop factor like the kids and my chums do. So, it was great. And the entertainment was just amazing, Mr. and Mrs. Gray.
Yeah, I'm so glad. This is so good to hear that you enjoyed it.
And then when it finished and Mr. and Mrs. Gray did the like session afterwards, we were all me and the kids were dancing. I mean, Dave was still at work, and he came back halfway through at like 9 o'clock going, why aren't the kids in bed? And we were all like, yay!
No, it's brilliant. I love it. And I think
really good night.
it really makes me and the committee and really proud that we were really in two minds as to whether we were going to do it last year. And I just thought to myself, when we got to the end of the year, I just thought we need to do this, because we need to bring people's morale up. We need to continue to celebrate and all of these fantastic achievements with reward and recognition. I think it is just so important. So yeah, that's amazing feedback. Thank you so much.
I mean, I've been to a couple of virtual awards events this year, and yours is by far the best. That's in my eyes, that's what people need to live up to.
I think we're very lucky that we're supported by some great sponsors, and without their investment, there's no way we would have been able to deliver anything like that. And again, with Mr. and Mrs. Gray, Hogarth's Hotels, the camera crews from CMA and eventologists, they really supported us, because they were really wanted to get back and doing events again. And this opportunity to do it for all of you was just great. And as you say, it opened up a world of people that could see the awards that have never seen it before. So it was fantastic. So before we kind of wrap up, what kind of nugget would you kind of offer anyone that's thinking about entering this year? Is there anything that you would like to share?
I would say just do it. Just do it, even for the experience. Even if you're not successful in winning, the process was really good. The nominations, the shortlist, it just, the whole thing, there was just this whole, I'm using whole a lot, aren't I?
No, it's okay.
It was like an aura of just excitement for literally 12 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what we love.
Support from other people within the VA forum, and those that were shortlisted and finalists, they just had each other's back and were just so supportive. It was just great.
Fantastic.
So I would say apply. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, and Rachel's told you.
Awesome. I love it. And finally, Rachel, look what I've got here for you.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
I haven't had a chance to give this to you, or to we could have posted it, but I don't want to do that. I want to arrange a day where we can invite you all in. You can have photos with your awards. You can meet the sponsors. They can give you your prizes. I know we've still got some prizes pending, which we're waiting to enjoy together. So I'll make sure that we get those sorted. But how has it been for you after winning the awards? With customers, were they really pleased for you? Did you, when you're talking to new customers, do you mention, how do you kind of fit it in? Have you got it on your auto signature or kind of anything like that?
Yeah, so it's on my signature. It's on my website and obviously on my LinkedIn and things. My customers were over the moon. They're really supportive in that way. And so it's in some of my marketing.
Fantastic.
I try not to brag. I don't want to use it as a brag, if that makes sense. But just because they, some of them know about the PA Forum and all the amazing work they do, and to be able to say that you've been judged by Chris and Lucy, they're like way up there, aren't they? So it's it helps with some of the credibility and social proof and stuff as well. So
absolutely. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure, Rachel, and I have to say a huge congratulations to you and to all of the finalists. I think we built a fantastic community last year as well. There was over 75 finalists, and all of you, the support and the excitement and the whoop for each other was just amazing. And I think that I wish I could bottle that feeling and drink that every day, because it's amazing. So thank you so much to you. Congratulations, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, Dan. Take care.
Thank you.